like understanding that people are going to pick up on you. It could be because of the way you smile, the way your energy is, the way you react to them in the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat or in the Instagram comments. The way that people react to you as a entity is what you should play up to the most.
So learning that the game is your game is going to be different than every other person's game. I wish maybe somebody did tell me that, but I wish I had learned that earlier. The sense that like there's no blog article out there like how can Alex Courtwright have success playing video games on Twitch. That blog article does not exist, But you're essentially learning a thousand ways to not. The only way to learn how to do it is either to get super lucky on the first try, happens occasionally, or to get 10% of it like that worked and then just ditch that 90% and make that 10% 11%. That's really the only way. I mean, people say like, "Oh, failure way to success" all the time. Is like, I mean, I don't really like that jargon necessarily, but like in the sense that you don't even know what success looks like. You don't even know what realistic success for you actually looks like until you try to achieve it. And then you both learn how to get a little bit more realistic idea of success for you and then how to actually achieve that. Like the only way is just to experiment and try it and it blow up in your face and you're like,
Exactly. And that's one of my biggest regrets when I used to play music was that like I think I cut my success and prospects down by, I would go so far as to say possibly like 75% because of how scared I was to create and to put out and how much I didn't know. And now part of this because I was young as hell.
yeah, no one time. I mean,
I'm
never
so
learned this
much
shit.
older. I've learned so much in the past 3 or 4 years, not just about like content creation, marketing, business, just creation of anything, artistry, but also just like in how to work and so forth. That it's for a young man's game, it's like the things you don't know when you're 18, 19, just trying to get into it, like, but my biggest regret is that like I was always worried about, getting the right trillions of dollars so that I could pay the best producer for one song when there were so many different ways that I could have been actively promoting and getting out there and I wasn't taking it. And like,
Yeah.
now here, doing content creation in a different avenue, I'm applying all the things I've learned in the past few years through that. And I already see the exponential growth,
Hmm.
at least on timetables, so much faster than back then. Because back then it was like you just really you got your Facebook likes on your band and you were just like, we got 2 from this friend that I met at the show the other day, and it's like, oh shit, we could have made 5 videos on YouTube and found better fans, like, or whatever it was. And you can't change that, and you can't go back, and like times were different, like by far, in
Yeah,
so many
but
different
it's
ways.
but it's, the times will always be different. The times will be different tomorrow, and it's like what you were saying is learning how to, like, for instance, I don't know if you did this, but like, I mean, I was trying to like, okay, so this guy, this band I like has success. What do they do? And then you try to emulate that, and it didn't work. The thing is, like, who are you trying to emulate? Watched the Rob Zombies on a podcast, and like Rob Zombies made a bunch of content, both in music and in movies, that is just massively popular. And he talks about, he's like, dude, I'm the luckiest person on the planet because the shit that I want to make, people seem to like. He's like, this is not how it works. Don't emulate me because I am the luckiest person on the planet. And then I started hearing that, like, it usually takes them to be like 40 plus. When all the artists I loved when I was a kid, they're like, dude, we got so lucky. They're like, Nirvana shouldn't have happened. They were an anomaly. There were 100 other bands that sounded better, that did everything right, that didn't work, that worked just as hard or harder than Nirvana. And did they have success? I'm sure. Like, I'm not dispelling them, but they weren't Nirvana. And should try to emulate and hit that 0.01% is like literally a recipe for like sadness, because there's no way to emulate that. And the only way to even strike gold in a systematic way is to just pick at as many fucking rocks as you can, you know?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean with like when I was younger, my biggest regret is not like not knowing how to do something, it's just not picking up the piece and moving it forward in some way
In
without
some ways,
fear.
it's like not knowing when to quit, because it feels like I invested a bunch of stuff in this. Like, well, it didn't work. Maybe I just need to work harder. It was like, maybe you need to quit and try something else. I was like, but maybe I just need to work harder. It's like, maybe, but You might
Yeah.
just need to quit, try something else, man. Like clearly this didn't work, and you effectively wasted that time. And but like, don't sunken cost this shit.
Yeah, and at the bottom of it, that's the hardest thing when you're talking about what you should and shouldn't do in your career path, or like what you should chase and what you shouldn't, is
Mhm.
that like at the bottom of it, like you might have 100 people tell you that you should just keep on trying, but like the truth is some people should and some people shouldn't, and there's really no way to know who that is, because
Mhm.
there are tons of people that I thought would never make it that made it. So I can't be the judge to tell them that they should be that they should give up and try something else.
Sure, sure.
Like there is no one person that can just tell you that. I guess if you get a mass of people like outweighing the good, telling you things, but like otherwise it's like you're just out here throwing darts in the dark, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it's a scary place to be. But like I guess the one takeaway from it all that like I've learned and that I'm trying to apply to my life and the things that I create is that principle of just to keep throwing them and to put out more content than you think about. I used to just think about content all the time. I used to think about music. I used to think about whatever it was. I was just constantly just
Mhm.
obsessing with thinking about it. And then I would get like one thing out a week. Whereas it's
Yeah.
like now I'm
And it'd
like,
be perfect, but it just got swallowed in like this is an unfortunate reality. I don't know if you dealt with this. I had this like I don't know, Leonardo da Vinci syndrome. Like I want every single I'm not only going to release a few pieces of art, but they're going to be the best thing ever and they're going to be treasured for generations to come, and like that's not how the modern we're not Leonardo da Vinci's. Like we that's not how content works anymore.
yeah.
Like you're competing against an ocean of shit. Like
Well,
and like competing is not even the right word, but kind of competing, and the only way to like most of those guys like Van Gogh, for instance, like oh he's treasured. He's like I want to make art like Van Gogh. It's like dude, nobody gave a shit about is your purpose to make art to just make art and do something that you're proud of, whether any person sees it ever or not. Almost no one I know honestly says yes to that. They're like, dude, I want people to consume my art ideally this way, but at this point, I'll pretty much just take however many people like enjoy it. That's what I'm going for, you know?
yeah.
And if that's really what your goal is, like, then you need, and if that's the most important, like, then you need to really, like, there's so many things where I just need to sit down and it's like, you don't get to pick how people consume this shit. I'm like, yeah, like,
Y- And I think that's the thing that every creator needs to hear though, is like what I've realized, and I did this by analyzing. I mean, I consumed a lot of content on it and read up on all the advice that I could find and watched all the how-to videos on YouTube. But like the one thing that I think a lot of people get caught up in is trying to emulate something or create something that is objectively perfect
mhm,
versus what artists really need to realize is that like, and I realize this because I figured out that I do this with content. I go to different content creators, whether that's streamers, musicians, or anything. I don't go because of the objective value of what they're creating. I go because the chance that I stumbled upon them and that's who I happen to get into, but also because I like them. Like I would follow Cam Gillette on Instagram because I think he's attractive. Because I think that I like the way he puts things. I like the way he cusses every 5 seconds. It's more relatable, whatever it is. Like
yeah.
whatever it is that's you. It's like I realized that like I was constantly like, I can't put out that content because someone else has probably done that better or has made it into
Oh
this way.
God,
And
that's
like
hitting me hard, man.
like understanding that people are going to pick up on you. It could be because of the way you smile, the way your energy is, the way you react to them in the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat or in the Instagram comments. The way that people react to you as a entity is what you should play up to the most. So like if you can capture what you should be working on is not just how to bring your craft up, but if you can capture yourself in its most refined and high skill form, that's what
Mhm.
people are going to be attracted to.
And
So like if
that's
as long as
scary.
the content you're putting out is putting yourself into it first, everything else is like, dude, no one cares what kind of microphone you're using. Like, does it sound like shit or does it sound aight?